Okay, we're going to start our notes on our cheese chapter. I apologize if there's a little background noise today. I'll do my best to kind of minimize that. This lecture will be recorded in 3 parts. Make sure you watch all 3 parts. And remember, the test over this unit is both over milk and cheese. So first of all, cheese is a natural food. It's made from the 2 parts, where we look at the 2 parts of milk. There are the solid, which are the milk curds, and the whey, which is the milk liquid. And remember, the cheese just comes from the curds. We drain off that whey when we make the cheese. And so this image will kind of help you. This is actually a really neat website that shows how to make your own cheese, which is kind of cool if you've ever want to try that. But it starts how you start with the milk process and watch it curdle. And you can see right here the curds of the milk start to form out. And there you can see very distinctly the curds and the whey. So the whey you will get rid of and the curds you will keep. I put this link right here. This is a link to Making Cheese with Mike Rowe, the guy from Dirty Jobs, and it shows the really kind of the cool process of that you go through to make cheese. So again, the curds are the solid part of milk and the whey is the liquid, but we only use the curds to make cheese. Our 2 categories of cheese are ripened or aged cheese and unripened or not aged cheese. Now remember, I'll call those by both of those names, so make sure you recognize that. If I say aged cheese, it's the same thing as ripened cheese. Okay. The reason we call ripened cheese aged is because it goes through the aging process. The aging process is where you take your milk curds and you add some kind of ripening agent to it, like a bacteria or mold or yeast, to give it a distinct quality. Then it's set in a certain controlled environment for a certain amount of time, and that is called aging. This aging process allows cheese to last longer and be less perishable, and it also gives it distinct colors, flavors, textures, etc. So this is another cool website that shows how to make cheese. And it kind of discusses some of the conditions that are needed to ripen or age cheese. It's not just like you can leave it on your counter and it counts, all right? So I'm not going to read all of this, but it is interesting to talk about circulation, temperature, humidity when aging. And here's kind of an image of cheese that's being aged. Now, cheese is aged for all different amounts of times. So you can see these, they're set on shelves. Now, these environments would be very specific conditions and humidity and temperature. This is a cool website. This is just showing different types of aged cheese. You can find this just about anywhere. This is just a quick one I jumped to, but it's showing how long different cheese is aged. Okay, so you can see this one's only 2 or 3 weeks. It can be up to years. The longer it's aged, the stronger the flavor will be. So if you look at like a sharp cheddar, that has been aged longer than a mild cheddar because you can tell because the flavor is stronger. All right. This is another link to a video. This is showing a video of how Parmigiano Reggiano cheese is made. Excuse me. And it goes through the ripening process, and it's really kind of neat to see. Most ripened cheeses have a soft to a harder texture. As unripened cheese, you'll see are a lot softer. Excuse me. Here are some examples of ripened cheeses. These are some of the most common examples of ripened cheese. There could be more than this. These are just some of the basic ones. This is another neat website. This is showing the difference between unripened or unaged cheese and ripened cheese. Now, this one calls fresh cheese unripened cheese, but you can see it's softer, like cottage cheese, cream cheese, ricotta. Now, these are called soft cheeses, but they are technically ripened cheeses, okay? So I'm just going to scroll through a couple images here. Now, these are the categories we'll talk about later. In the ripened cheeses, there's several textures. They're soft to semi-soft to firm. Okay, so you can look at that on your own time. All right, here's another example of just some of the cheeses that you'll see, some of the aged or ripened cheeses. Cheddar, Swiss, Munster, Edam is on there. This is Monterey Jack. American's actually a process. Not all of these are ripened cheeses. I just want to show you some images. Gouda has a very distinct, typically wax on it like the Edam. Okay, here's some of our softer cheeses. So again, these are not all ripened cheeses. This was just a cool chart I thought that would show you some of the images. This is probably my favorite website I have found so far, cheese.com. So cool. They have all of these different images of cheeses. You can go through all of them. I'm not going to do that. You can also break down the cheeses by like what country produces them. Pretty neat. You can see like where they're processed at, where they're popular at, by milk, because remember we talked in class, cheese comes from all different types of milk, water buffalo, reindeer cheese. So I just thought that was really cool. You can spend some time looking on there if you want. The only one that we distinctly look at is goat milk cheese, and then Roquefort is a sheep milk cheese. All right, unripened cheese is also made from curds, but it's not aged, so it won't last as long. It's more perishable. Cottage cheese, cream cheese, Farmer's, mozzarella, and ricotta are examples of that. Now, Farmer's and mozzarella are the ones that can be a little tricky because they look more of that solid form that you see with the aged cheese, but they still are actually unaged or unripened. Specialty or processed cheeses are what they sound like. They're processed. They're not a natural cheese. They take several ripened cheeses and they mush them together, essentially. And they either do that with or without heat. Now, the names of them are very distinct. Cold pack. You hear the word cold. Obviously, that was made without heat. Here are some examples. I call these the cheese and sausage cheeses because a lot of times they're paired with sausage at like those little stands that you see in the mall. So these are examples of cold packed cheese. They're typically like more spreadable. Okay. Pasteurized process we know is made with heat because we know the word pasteurized to mean heat. These are some cheeses you're probably very familiar with. The Kraft Singles, Velveeta, Cheese Whiz. Okay. These can be called like cheese spread, cheese food. It really just depends on the ingredients and the moisture. There's several things that go into it, but those are all pasteurized processed cheese. All right, that's the first part of our notes for this unit.